2 months ago, I made a video about roguelites titled 15 Best Roguelite Games That Will Keep You Hooked for Hours. By the way, if you haven't seen that one, you can check it out after this video. But today we are talking about roguelikes. Please note that this list is in no specific order, and also before we dive in, just a quick heads up, this list might not be 100% strictly roguelikes, and that's because the genre is really hard to define these days. If we went with the pure traditional definition, honestly, more than half of the games on this list probably wouldn't even make the cut. And I really don't want the comments to be full of you guys being like, where's this game? Where's that game? So just imagine this list is basically a hybrid of some games that are 70% roguelites and 30% roguelites. So as always, I'm Daniel, and today, the 17 roguelikes you really need to play right now. All right, starting things off at number 17, we've got Faster Than Light, or FTL, just like most people simply call it. And what a way to start. You are the captain of a Federation ship, and you are carrying critical information that could, save the entire Federation. The problem? The entire Rebel fleet is hot on your tail, and they are relentless. Your goal is to make a series of faster-than-light jumps across several sectors of space to deliver that intel, and, try not to get blown into tiny little pieces along the way. When we talk about FTL, the story is mostly not the reason why we talk about it. I mean, it's great, don't get me wrong. It does the job, but the main reason is the gameplay. It's a top-down view of your ship, and you're not directly flying it. Instead, you're a manager, a crisis manager, really. You're managing your crew, telling them which rooms to go to, and most importantly, you're managing your ship's power. Every single second is a desperate balancing act. Let me give you some examples. Do you take power from the med bay to supercharge your weapons for this fight? Do you pull it from your engines to reinforce your shields? And all of this happens in real time. Well, real time with a pause button. You'll be in the middle of a fight, your shields are down, a fire has started in the engine room, and a team of giant alien mantises just teleported onto your bridge. What do you do? Who do you send where? Every single decision feels weighty. It feels permanent, because if you mess up, that's it. Back to the hangar. For a game that came out, back in 2012? It kind of set the stage for a lot of the modern indie roguelikes we see today. And yeah, I know, you unlock different ships, but the core loop, the moment-to-moment terror and triumph, that is pure, uncut roguelike, and it's an absolute must-play.
Next up at number 16 is Blueprints. This is without a doubt one of the best, most intelligent games to come out this year, but for some reason, it feels like it just got completely overlooked by so many people. Your character inherits an absolutely massive, sprawling manor from a great uncle he barely knew. The only catch in the will? To claim your inheritance, you have to find a mysterious, hidden 46th room in a mansion that, you have to find a mysterious hidden 46th room in a mansion that only has 45 rooms. At the end of each day, when your time is up, the entire layout of the house completely rearranges itself overnight. Now you might think it's got some combat, but no, it's not a combat game. It's not a dungeon crawler. You are, for all intents and purposes, a paranormal architect. When you walk up to a door, the game presents you with 3 random room choices like cards from a deck. You then have to draft one and physically place it onto your blueprint. And that room materializes in front of you. You are, quite literally, building the labyrinth as you explore it. You're the architect and the rat in the maze at the exact same time. It honestly creates a layer of strategy that is dizzying. You have a limited number of steps you can take before your day ends, so every single choice is agonizing. This is a game that practically demands you have a notepad next to your keyboard. You're finding these little scraps of family lore, these cryptic clues to puzzles that might not pay off for another 10 runs. Your meta progression isn't an unlockable skill. It's your own brain. It's the knowledge you carry with you. Ending a day knowing exactly what you need to do tomorrow, only to have the house shuffle itself and force you to rethink your entire plan, is both infuriating and genius. It's a puzzle box disguised as a first-person adventure. And please, if you want a game that truly respects your intelligence,
Do not let this one pass you by.
At number 15 is Into the Breach. FTL was a masterclass in tension. Well, the same developers, Subset Games, decided to come back and basically perfect the formula. So in this one, even if it was from the same developer that made FTL, it's kind of different. Humanity is on the brink of extinction. Vek, giant bug-like monsters called the Vek, have erupted from beneath the earth and are wiping out every city they can find. You command a squad of 3 giant mechs sent back in time from a ruined future to try and save the timeline. Your goal isn't to win the war, because they already lost, but simply to protect the civilian infrastructure, the power grid, long enough to hold the Vek off. Now, you know the game, if you remember Tyranny? Imagine Tyranny, where the game's core premise is also that the war was lost, but in this one you're not evil. So it's a turn-based strategy game on a tiny 8x8 grid. And the absolute genius of this game is that it tells you exactly what the enemy is going to do on their next turn. You see which building they're targeting, how much damage they'll do, everything. Now, because of that, I really feel like it's less of a strategy game and more of a chess match, a brutal, desperate game of chess where your pawns are skyscrapers and the enemy queen is a giant acid-spitting beetle or something. Into the Breach is not like how much damage can I do, it's more of how can I use my 3 mechs to stop all 5 of those incoming attacks from happening? Can I push this one into the water? Can I make that other one shoot his own teammate? Can I freeze this one in place for a turn? It forces you to think about positioning, about consequences, about everything. Positioning, consequences, collateral damage in a way that very few games do. There is no feeling quite like clearing a turn with 0 damage to the grid. And then there are the turns where you make one wrong move and you just have to sit there and watch a hospital full of people get vaporized because you messed up. It is a perfectly designed, laser-focused experience that will make you feel like a genius and a complete moron, sometimes in the exact same turn.
Okay, at number 14, we have Monster Train. Now, I know there's a sequel, Monster Train 2, that came out back in May of this year, but for this list, I'm going to be sticking with the first one. Reason being, I just haven't put enough hours into the sequel to really speak on it with any authority, you know? But the original, oh yeah, I can confidently, absolutely recommend this one. So the premise is just awesome. Heaven has won the war and has frozen hell over completely. But you are part of the last bastion of demonic resistance. You're on a speeding train, the Bone Shaker, and your one and only mission is to protect the last burning ember of the pyre and reignite the heart of hell. So you're basically the good guys, if the good guys were horrifying multi-armed monsters. It's essentially a reverse tower defense. The armies of heaven are storming your train, and you have to stop them from reaching the pyre at the very top. If you like deck builders, this is top shelf stuff. Your train has 3 floors plus the pyre room at the top. Each turn you draw a hand of cards and spend energy to play your monster units and your spells onto these 3 floors. The genius is in the multi-level layout. You place your big tanky demon on the bottom floor to absorb all the hits, and then you put your little glass cannon imps behind him where they can just wail on the enemies without getting touched. But the synergies. This game is an absolute laboratory for creating the most ridiculously overpowered combinations imaginable. It's all about that one perfect run. That moment where you find an artifact that doubles the effectiveness of your spells, and you have a champion that gets stronger every time you cast a spell on him, and suddenly you've created this one unkillable unit who hits for 300 damage and has 800 health. It is an incredible power trip. The game is fast, it's super addictive, and the feeling of a perfect run finally coming together is just chef's kiss. So good.
Next up at number 13, we have Vampire Survivors. And the premise is, honestly, there barely is one. And that's the absolute beauty of it. You pick a character, you're dropped into a completely flat, open field, and that's it. Survive for 30 minutes against these just absolutely endless, suffocating waves of monsters. You don't attack, I mean not directly. All of your weapons and abilities fire automatically. The only thing you control is movement. You walk.
That's your only job. Your only job is to weave your little 8-bit character through these literal tidal waves of bats and skeletons and giant praying mantises. As you kill enemies, they drop these little experience gems. You scoop them up, you level up, and the game pauses and gives you a choice. 3 or 4 options. Options like, do you take the spinning Holy Bible for protection? Do you upgrade your garlic aura that damages enemies you get too close? Do you grab the whip for some early game crowd control? You start off so incredibly weak, so vulnerable, just desperately dodging a single bat. But slowly, choice by choice, you start to build this ridiculous engine of pure destruction around your character. 10 minutes in, you're walking through hordes like they're nothing. 20 minutes in, you can barely see your own character under the absolute storm of projectiles and holy water and magic wands firing off in every direction. The sounds, the little jingle when you find a treasure chest is good. This game makes you become the bullet hell. For a game that costs like $5, it took over the entire world for a reason. It's not complex, it's not deep, it is digital popcorn. And it is one of the most addicting games ever made. At number 12, we have one of the best games of 2024, which is, of course, Balatro. This is a roguelike built on the fundamental rules of poker. Your job is to play poker hands, pairs, flushes, full houses, to score enough points to beat these things called blinds. If you can't hit the score target, your run is over. Simple as that. But that's just the frame. That's just the canvas. The actual game, the masterpiece, is the jokers. After each round, you go to a shop and you can buy these joker cards, and they completely shatter the rules of poker. They take the rule book, douse it in gasoline, and light a match. You start off just, trying to make a simple flush for a few hundred points. But then you find a joker that gives you a multiplier for every heart card in your hand. Then you find another one that re-triggers the first card you play. Then you buy a tarot card that turns 3 of your cards into hearts. And suddenly, you're playing a high card ace, a hand that's normally worthless, and it's scoring 2 million points. It is a slot machine, for sure. It's all about finding those absolutely finding game-breaking synergies that let you escalate your score. Finding that one perfect joker in the shop that makes your entire build come online is a rush that you really can't find everywhere. This game came out of absolutely nowhere last year, made by a solo developer, and it justifiably took the entire internet by storm. It's probably one of the best designed games, and just like most games on this list, this is a roguelike you really can't afford to sleep on. So what we have at number 11 is Noida. If you've ever wanted to play a game that feels genuinely dangerous, this is an example. You are a little witch, and you descend into this deep, sprawling, pixelated cave system to do something. The game is incredibly cryptic, but that's not what matters. What matters is that every single pixel in this game is physically simulated, and I don't think you understand what that means until you see it. It means wood burns. It means liquids flow and pool together. Gas rises. Acid melts through solid rock. Gunpowder explodes in a chain reaction. If you electrocute a pool of water, anything in that water gets zapped. The gameplay is built on 2 pillars. One is survival, the other is wand crafting. You find wands with different stats, and then you find hundreds of individual spell components that you can mix and match to build your own. You start by just, shooting a simple magic spark, but then you find a modifier that adds a fire trail to it. Then you find another one that makes it bounce 3 times. Then you add a spell that makes the projectile split into 5 upon impact, and suddenly you've gone from a simple pea shooter to creating this screen-clearing, physics-breaking weapon of mass destruction that sets the entire level on fire. The chaos works both ways. You'll fire it in a tight corridor, it'll bounce back and hit you in the face. You'll set a puddle of whiskey on fire and accidentally create a massive explosion that brings the entire ceiling down on your head. This is a game where the most dangerous thing in the world is, well, it's usually your own creativity. It is brutally difficult, completely unfair, and one of the most rewarding and emergent games out there. So coming in at number 10, we've got Enter the Gungeon. You play as one of a handful of misfits, the Gungeoneers, and each one is haunted by something in their past, a deep regret, and they've heard a legend about a gun that can kill the past. And to find it, they have to descend into the Gungeon, a constantly shifting labyrinth that is pretty much made of guns. At its heart, it's a twin-stick shooter, a bullet hell twin-stick shooter. The single most important tool you have is your dodge roll. It gives you a few precious frames of invincibility, and you will live and die by your ability to time it perfectly to weave through these absolute curtains of bullets that fill the screen. Oh, and you can flip tables for cover. Yeah, a simple mechanic, but it never gets old. The variety of weapons in this game is legendary. It's an arsenal of pure absurdity. I'm talking about guns that shoot sharks, guns that shoot bees, a gun that's literally just a lowercase r that fires the word bullet, a gun shaped like a beehive that shoots, you guessed it, angry bees. It is so relentlessly creative. Every single room is like a frantic ballet of dodging, flipping tables, and just unleashing absolute nonsense at these adorable little walking bullet enemies. The entire world is built on that pun. The enemies are bullets, the bosses are bigger bullets. It's all guns all the time. It is brutally tough, but it's one of those games that's always fair. When you die, you know it was your fault. It's just one of the most polished, charming, and endlessly replayable action roguelikes ever made. Also, if you made it this far, please leave a like, subscribe. I post contents like this regularly, so be sure to ring the bell so you don't miss out on the next one.
So up at number 9, we have Cult of the Lamb. You play as an adorable little lamb, the last of your kind, and in the very first minute of the game, you're led to a sacrificial altar and executed. But instead of just dying, you're transported to this otherworldly plane where you meet this ancient change deity, the One Who Waits, and he offers you a deal. He'll resurrect you, grant you incredible power, and give you a second chance at life. All you have to do in return is start a violent, all-consuming cult in his name and systematically murder the 4 other gods who imprisoned him. So, a perfectly reasonable request. It's really a mashup of 2 completely different genres that have absolutely no business working together, but somehow they just do perfectly. So half of the game is a fast-paced action roguelike. You go on these crusades into these procedurally generated dungeons. The combat is slick and responsive. You've got a weapon for your main attack, a curse for a ranged magic ability, and a crucial dodge roll. You're fighting these weird heretical monsters, gathering resources like wood and stone, rescuing new followers to indoctrinate, and eventually taking down one of the major bosses. But then it's also a full-on cult management sim. You're building up your little commune from scratch. You have to build shelters for your followers so they can sleep. You have to farm food so they don't starve. You even have to build an outhouse and clean up their poop or they'll get sick and dissent will spread through the camp. You give daily sermons in your temple to drain them of their faith, which you then use as a resource to unlock permanent upgrades for yourself. The 2 halves are perfectly intertwined. The more powerful your cult becomes, the stronger you become for the crusades. You unlock new weapons, new curses, new abilities, and the further you get in the crusades, the better resources and the more followers you bring back to grow your cults. And the whole thing is wrapped up in this art style that's like, imagine a cutesy Saturday morning cartoon, but it's all about eldritch gods, eldritch horror, and ritualistic cannibalism. It is so charming and so deeply, deeply unsettling at the same time.
Yep, at number 8 is The Binding of Isaac. If we're talking about the games that basically built the modern roguelike genre from the ground up, this is one of the founding fathers. Isaac, a little kid whose deeply religious mother hears a voice from God commanding her to sacrifice him. So, to escape, he dives down into the monster-filled basement beneath his house. At its core, it's a top-down twin-stick shooter, very much inspired by the dungeons from the original Legend of Zelda, except you're not shooting arrows. You're like shooting your own tears. You cry on things until they die. The soul of this game are the items. There are, I don't even know at this point, hundreds and hundreds of them, and they synergize in the most unexpected, the most game-breaking ways imaginable. You'll start a run as just, this sad little kid barely able to kill a fly, but then you pick up an item that gives you triple shot tears. Then you find another one that makes your tears home in on enemies. Then you find another one that makes them explosive, and by the end of the run, you're not even walking anymore. You're not even walking anymore. You're this floating, multi-eyed, angelic, demonic force of nature that just melts everything the second you enter a room. This game, originally a little flash game from Edmund Macmillan, basically wrote the book on item synergies in roguelikes. It's been built upon and expanded for over a decade now with DLCs like Repentance, and it just has a nearly bottomless amount of content to discover. The sheer number of secrets, unlockable characters, and alternate paths is just staggering. It is a true, undeniable cornerstone of the genre. All right, at number 7, we have the one and only Slay the Spire. Slay the Spire is pretty straightforward, at least compared to most games on this list. You pick one of a few unique characters, and your goal is to slay the spire. You fight your way up a massive, ever-changing tower, floor by floor, until you reach the heart of the corruption at the very top. But that simple description does absolutely no justice to what this game actually is. It's the game that all other deck-building roguelikes are judged against. What I mean is that this is the gold standard. Each turn, you draw a hand of cards from your personal deck, and you're given a set amount of energy to play them. Simple enough. And after every single fight, you're offered a choice of 3 new cards to add to your deck. It's about, building a lean, mean, synergistic machine. It's a game of subtraction, almost. You're trying to get rid of your weak starting cards and build this perfectly tuned engine where every single card plays off the others. You might build a deck around poisoning the enemy, so you only take cards that add poison or multiply it. Or maybe you find a relic, a passive item that gives you strength every time you exhaust a card from your hand, so you build an entire deck around that one single concept. The feeling when your deck finally comes online, when you draw that perfect 5-card hand that lets you play 27 cards in a single turn and just obliterate a boss that seemed impossible 3 floors ago, is honestly very cool. Slay the Spire is perfectly balanced, fiendishly clever, and insanely addictive as well.
Up at number 6, we've got Dead Cells. You really can't create lists like this without including Dead Cells, where you play as this glob of green goo, basically, a reanimated thing called the Beheaded. And at the start of every single run, you possess a headless corpse and burst out of a prison cell. Your goal is to fight your way across a sprawling, cursed, and constantly changing island to find and kill the king. They call this game a Roguevania for a reason. It takes the run-based, randomized item structure of a roguelike and smashes it together with the fast-paced 2D action platforming of a classic Metroidvania, and the result is a Roguevania. The movement is the star of the show here because it is so unbelievably fluid. Everything is designed to keep you moving, to maintain this relentless forward momentum. You have a satisfying ground stomp move that sends you hurtling downwards. You have a lightning-fast dodge roll. It's all about flow. You see, Dead Cells is basically a ballet of running, jumping, dodging through attacks, and just tearing through enemies at a blistering pace. And that combat is just as good. You find new weapons, skills, and mutations on every run, and the variety is insane. Swords, whips, bows, magic, giant frying pans? You might find a sword that crits on enemies that are on fire, and then find a grenade that, sets everything on fire. It's all about finding those little synergies on the fly and creating a build that just sings.
This game, from developer Motion Twin, is a testament to post-launch support. It came out years ago, and they've just been adding tons of free updates and massive paid DLCs ever since, including that Return to Castlevania expansion. It's just one of the most polished, satisfying, and just relentlessly addictive action games ever made.
Of course, at number 5, we have Spelunky 2. The first Spelunky, the HD remake, is one of the most important indie games ever, and just like the first game, Spelunky 2 is just as important. In here, you play as Anna Spelunky, the daughter of the hero from the first game. Your parents have gone missing on the moon, so naturally you head to the moon to find them by exploring another set of deadly procedurally generated caves, as you do. Spelunky is at its heart a 2D platformer, but it's a platformer that wants you dead constantly, and even violently, and also often hilariously. Everything in this world is governed by a set of consistent, brutally unforgiving rules, and everything interacts with everything else. You'll get knocked into a spike pit by a bat you didn't see. You'll get crushed by a rock that fell from off screen if you weren't careful enough, you weren't paying attention, and every single death is a lesson. And because it's a roguelike, the knowledge you gain from those deaths, that's the only thing you carry over to the next run. Not really much to say about this one, because this is basically just as good as the first game. It just takes that perfect formula and adds more. There are branching paths now, new worlds, mounts you can ride, a whole new layer of incredibly obscure secrets. It's deeper and more complex, which also means there are about 1,000 new ways to get yourself killed. Of course, if you loved the first game, you'll most likely enjoy this one too.
Yeah, next up at number 4, we've got Hades 2. After a super successful run in development, Hades 2 has officially launched out of early access. It hit its full 1.0 release on September 25th this year. If there's any developer you can trust to absolutely nail that process, it's Supergiant Games. You're not playing as Zagreus anymore. This time you are Melinoe, the princess of the underworld, and Zagreus' sister. The stakes are way higher now. Your father Hades has been captured by Kronos, the Titan of Time, who has escaped his imprisonment and is waging a war against Olympus from the depths of the underworld. Your job is to fight your way down into Tartarus, not up, to kill a literal god of time. So the family drama is still very much intact. If you played the first Hades, you will feel right at home. The core is still that slick, fast-paced, dash and strike isometric combat that feels perfect. You get boons from a whole host of Olympians, both new and old, that completely change how your attacks and specials work. Melinoe herself is a witch, so alongside your regular attacks, you have a new magic bar. You can hold down your attack or your special to charge up these bigger, screen-filling Omega moves that consume magic but have devastating effects. It has a whole new rhythm and resource to manage in the heat of battle. And there's also a huge new layer outside of combat. You now have these gathering tools like a pickaxe or a shovel that let you collect resources, herbs, metals, all sorts of things during your runs. You then bring them back to the hub area, the crossroads, and use them in a cauldron to perform these incantations that unlock, well, everything. New weapons, new features, new paths, permanent upgrades. Of course, creating a whole other progression loop that just makes every single run feel valuable, even if you die in the first room. Look, it's a phenomenal sequel that builds on a masterpiece in every single meaningful way, and it's an absolute must-play.
At number 3, we have Rogue Legacy 2. This is a genealogical roguelike. You belong to this long line of adventurers trying to conquer a cursed, ever-shifting kingdom, but the real hook is what happens when you die. When you die, you don't just hit a restart button. No, your run is over, but your legacy continues. You then get to choose from a selection of your children to be your next hero and take up the cause. Each heir is completely different. They'll have a new character class, like a barbarian or a mage, but they also come with these randomly generated traits. And these traits range from the amazing, like, you get health back for every kill, to the hilariously awful. I'm talking about getting vertigo and the entire screen is flipped upside down for your whole run, or you might get irritable bowel syndrome and your character just farts every time they jump or dash. It ensures that every single life feels unique and presents a totally new challenge. All the gold you manage to collect on a run, before your heir can enter the castle, you have to spend it on building up your own family's manor. And this manor, it's your permanent skill tree. Every upgrade you buy, more health, more damage, unlocking the chef class, it's there forever for every single heir that comes after. The actual moment-to-moment gameplay is really tight and a very responsive 2D action platforming. And as a sequel, it kind of improves on the first game, which was already a classic, in every single conceivable way. The art style is gorgeous, there are way more classes, more secrets, a lot of things that I probably didn't remember to say. It's more, and all of it is good.
So coming in at number 2, we have Crypt of the Necrodancer. And if there was ever a game that proved you could smash two completely different genres together and create something transcendent, this is it. Cadence, that's you, ventures into a crypt to find her father. But the evil Necrodancer steals her heart and curses her, forcing her to forever move to the beat of the music. Top down, it's a grid-based dungeon crawler, but it is also a rhythm. It's also a rhythm game. And I mean, everything is tied to the beat of the music. There's a pulsating bar at the bottom of the screen, and you have to move on the beat. You attack on the beat. You use items on the beat. Enemies in the game also move on the beat, but they all have their own unique pattern. A blue slime will hop towards you on every other beat. A skeleton will move forward, pause for a beat, and then try to hit you. You're honestly learning the rhythm of your enemies and positioning yourself to strike at the exact right moment, all while keeping the tempo. When you first start, you might struggle, not even a might, man, you'll struggle to stay on beat. But it really doesn't take long before you adapt. You internalize the music. You don't even look at the beat bar anymore, you just feel it. It becomes a flow state where you're just perfectly weaving between monsters, dispatching them without a single thought. Of course, it being a game that's like about beats, the soundtrack has to be good, and fortunately it really is. And as you get deeper into the crypt, the music gets faster, more complex, and more intense. If you miss a beat, you drop your combo, and you'll get stunned for a second, and that's usually all it takes for a dragon to breathe fire right in your face. This game didn't just, become a hit. It was so good, it created its own subgenre. And it even led to an official Nintendo crossover, Cadence of Hyrule. It is a work of pure genius. And finally at number 1 is, of course, a game quite a lot of y'all have been waiting for, Risk of Rain 2. In ROR 2, you choose from a roster of unique survivors, and you are dropped alone onto an hostile alien planet. Your goal is just to survive. On each stage, you need to find a teleporter, activate it, survive a massive boss fight while a horde of monsters swarms you, and then escape to the next level. And you just keep doing that over and over until you either die or, well, until you escape. There's a timer always running in the top right corner of your screen, and the longer you are in a run, the longer you take, the harder the game gets. And not just a little harder, exponentially harder. The difficulty level literally ticks up through settings. So it creates a very incredible risk-reward loop that is the core of the entire game. Do you rush to find the teleporter as fast as possible to keep the difficulty down? Or do you risk staying on a level longer to farm for more money, open more chests, and get more items to make yourself stronger for the next level, knowing that the timer is just ticking away? The items in this game stack. This is not a game where you get an item that gives you a 5% boost to your attack speed. No, you find 10 of them, and suddenly your character is firing their weapon like a Gatling gun. You find one teddy bear, and you have a small chance to, block incoming damage. You find 20 of them, and you are basically invincible. You start every single run so weak, so vulnerable, just plinking away at a single little lizard monster. But maybe 45 minutes later, if you've survived, you become an untouchable god of lightning and explosions, and the entire screen is just a fireworks display. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and also turn on the notification. Lastly, don't forget to drink water and get some sun. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.